I've been thinking a lot about New Game Plus modes and how, when executed well, they can provide a really fresh and exciting way to re experience those games. And after over 2,500 hours in Hades, could I apply some of those New Game Plus concepts and somehow maybe find a new way to experience escaping the underworld? When I was looking for inspiration, the most obvious place to start was Dark Souls, and while some people may find it ham-fisted to simply increase enemy health and damage, it does a surprisingly good job of making the enemies feel scary again, and it lets you experience anything you missed on your first playthrough without being too overpowered. On the other hand, instead of a purely mechanical change, some New Game Plus modes offer additional narrative. Nier Automata, for example, completely recontextualizes your experience of the events of the game, in addition to allowing the player to carry their gear into the next playthrough. And this isn't really the point of the video, but if you haven't played Nier, you should just play Nier. And that brings us back to Hades. It already has Hell Mode, which forces additional difficulty on the player by requiring each run to use at least some heat from the Pact of Punishment. And of course, the game is perfectly content to let the player continue doing runs with a fully maxed out save file, but neither of those fundamentally change the experience of the game. They're missing that main tenet of all great New Game Plus modes. Lucky for us, the Olympian gods have a proposition for Zagreus. They want to play a prank on Hades. So, if Zagreus promises to raise the heat level by 5 each run, they will allow him to keep all his boons from the previous run. Now we're talking. With these new rules in mind, it gives me a new opportunity to be forward-thinking in boon selection. The first thing that I need to consider is how can I ensure my core boons, my attack, special, cast, and dash, are exactly what I want and I don't lose a good ability to a replacement offering. Lucky for me, if I can find a way to make sure those boons are heroic, the game will no longer allow me to replace them. And that's where Rare Crop comes in. By getting this boon from Demeter each run, at least one of my boons will be upgraded to heroic each time, helping to ensure my build doesn't go too far off the rails. But after the first 2 runs, I realized the chance of Rare Crop hitting my core boons was actually getting pretty slim. Everything was going fairly smoothly for the first 3 runs. I was able to get the Rocket Bomb and Cluster Rockets Daedalus Hammer combo, so my special attack was very good at clearing rooms, but I was about to run into an issue. You see, I already had Divine Dash from Hera, and I wanted to keep it the entire run, because once the heat really gets turned up, I'm gonna need as many sources of invulnerability as possible. But since it wasn't heroic, there was a possibility I could get stuck with a boon replacement. And that's exactly what happened when I picked up a Dionysus boon looking for exclusive access. This is pretty much worst case scenario, because now my dash was heroic, so I couldn't change it back by picking up another Hera boon, and I was going to need to find a way to sell it, and well, by that point, we had a whole lot of boons, so the likelihood of seeing it in a sell well was really low. Moving into Elysium, I wasn't able to sell the Dionysus dash, but I did get to sell this Stinky Ares call, and I sold my Common Rush delivery because I did have exclusive access by that point, meaning I would get guaranteed epic boons from all my future Hermes. In run 5 at 25 heat, I still couldn't manage to sell this Dionysus dash that I was stuck with, but I was able to replace my special boon to Heroic Artemis, and Rare Crop took my call all the way up to Heroic as well, so the build was complete outside of not having Divine Dash, but for now, our damage was more than enough to carry us through. That victory screen's getting a little crowded, huh? And we're not even halfway to max heat. Let's continue. It wasn't until the 8th run that I was finally able to get rid of my dash boon and replace it with Athena. But of course, it was only epic, so I was still in danger of losing it again if I didn't find a Rare Crop or a Eurydice soon. Oh, and at some point, I realized I didn't even need to use my Cluster Rocket special because I had Flurry Cast, Quick Reload, and Greater Recall from Hermes, not to mention some other nice support boons like Fully Loaded, Support Fire, and Snowburst. I achieved the ultimate cast build and could basically just hold down the cast button while I dashed around the rooms watching the enemies melt. The power was intoxicating. At 45 heat, I lost my Divine Dash again, but who cares? Look at how strong Zagreus is. He's unstoppable. The gods no longer had any more boons to offer, so they just started throwing money at him. Truly, Zagreus had ascended to become the most powerful being, Olympian or Chthonic. Why wait any longer? Let's just jump straight to max heat. 64. Everything on the pack maxed out. Would this be any match for our hero? He is still the hero of the story, right? Yes, of course. His father cursed him to this never-ending escape, and he would pay dearly. Why else would the Olympians allow him all this power? But even 64 heat was not enough. Hades never stood a chance. More. Zagreus wanted more. Dark magics he had heard could unlock the Pact of Punishment and give him the greatest challenge of his life, 99 heat. Pull out all the stops. Perhaps this power had truly gone to his head. He wanted to feel something again. And then finally, in Elysium, with all this heat, Zagreus actually took some damage from the chariots. But it wouldn't last. And before long, he found himself in front of Hades. One final time. It was then, in a moment of clarity, Zagreus realized this was never about the Olympians wanting to prank Hades. He was the victim the whole time. They must have seen through the deception his parents and himself had put on. I mean, magical pomegranate seeds? It was a pretty bad lie to begin with. And with this new revelation, Zagreus understood why his mother left Olympus in the first place. With immortal life and infinite power, the gods could never be content for long. Their existence just cycles of endless conflict. No, this would be Zagreus' final escape. He would leave the underworld for good and go somewhere no one knows his name or his famous family members, somewhere far away where he could live a quiet life in peace for as long as he possibly could.